You ever feel something brewing? That weird sensation deep in your gut like the sky's clear, but a storm is quietly coiling itself behind the hills. That's the feeling I had one bright Texas morning as I stood at the edge of my 30-acre property and stared at the ruins of my third mailbox in 6 months. That day, I decided the destruction would end not with another complaint, not with a petty argument at a board meeting, but with a reckoning. What started as a turf war turned into the story of how I used steel, concrete, and the law to completely humiliate a tyrannical HOA enforcer and become a local legend in the process. Chapter 1. Cotton Ridge Country Estates. Let's rewind. Welcome to Cotton Ridge Country Estates. Don't let the name fool you. There's nothing grand or country clubby about it. It's a patch of dry Texas land held together with mesquite roots, dust, and illusions of suburbia. The estates are mostly mobile homes with some aging ranch houses sprinkled in. But thanks to one overly ambitious developer and a misplaced sense of order, we got saddled with an HOA. Now, not all HOA letters are evil. Some just want to keep folks from painting their houses neon green or leaving old washing machines in the yard. But ours was ruled by Milton Craig, a man whose authoritarian streak made Stalin look like a substitute teacher. Milton had no real job. He took early retirement after decades of middle management at a regional HOA distributor. Now he filled the gaping hole in his soul by policing grass length, paint color, and most infamously mailboxes. Chapter 2. Meet Milton. The mayor of Nowhere. Milton drove an ancient, dust-caked Ford F-150 faded beige, with amber lights bolted to the roof, like he was part of a disaster response team. The words Community Patrol Unit were magnetically slapped onto both doors, but we just called it what it was: Craig's Punishment Unit. He wore cargo shorts with more pockets than personality, and had the kind of leathery redneck that told you sunscreen was not part of his morning routine. His power trips were legendary. You couldn't so much as put a gnome on your porch without him citing Section 8B of Exterior Ornamentation Policy. And then he noticed my mailbox. Chapter 3. The first HOA. First, I thought it was an accident. I came out one Tuesday morning to grab the mail and saw the door of my standard aluminum mailbox hanging off its hinges, bent sideways like someone had kicked it open. The flag? Gone, snapped clean off. I chalked it up to the UPS guy or a careless trash truck. A week later, the entire post was leveled. I mean flattened, like someone had gunned a 2-ton vehicle off the shoulder of the road and into my ditch. And I'm not talking some casual bump, it was a full-on demolition job. Tire marks told the story. No swerve, no brake, just destruction. So I replaced it with a sturdier post, steel mounting, and concrete reinforcement. A little overkill, maybe, but it only lasted 9 days. Chapter 4. 3 strikes. Mailbox number 3 was mangled. It was twisted like a pretzel and smeared with a suspicious beige streak that matched exactly one vehicle in the neighborhood: Milton's tan truck. I didn't want to believe it at first, but I had my suspicions. So I did what any stubborn, formerly polite countryman would do. I got to work building a case. I installed a cheap wildlife cam, normally used to catch raccoons raiding chicken feed. Battery life was garbage, and the video quality was like something out of a 90s horror film, but it did the trick. 2 weeks later, bingo! Grainy footage showed Milton's truck slowly swerving toward my mailbox and then casually driving away like it was a Sunday stroll. Chapter 5. Confrontation. He waited for the next HOA meeting, and wouldn't you know it, Milton was in full form, berating a poor retiree for having a pink flamingo in her flower bed. I walked up, phone in hand. "Milton," I said, voice calm but pointed, "we need to talk about my mailbox." He barely looked up. "Just looks like a truck driving by," he scoffed. "Your truck," I said, tapping the screen. Same time, same angle, same paint color as the smear left on my third destroyed mailbox. He turned beet red. "If your mailbox wasn't practically in the road," he growled, "maybe it wouldn't keep getting hit." And then he said the word that lit the fuse: flimsy. Chapter 6. The Sentinel is born. Now, I've built barns, welded oil tanks, and rebuilt diesel engines in the dark. I know how to make things last. So I went into full mad engineer mode. I pulled out my drafting pad. I studied every USPS regulation, every HOA clause. Turns out, there's no restriction on building a mailbox strong enough to survive a tornado as long as it's accessible and technically breakaway. So I built the Sentinel. 6-inch diameter well-grade steel pipe, 0.4 feet sunk into the earth. 1 ton of concrete. Double-welded steel box with interior bracing. Half-inch steel flag, powder-coated black. It looked like a regular mailbox to the untrained eye, but this thing could survive a low-yield detonation. My neighbor Jack, a retired long-haul trucker and resident grumbler, walked over, took one look, and said, "Son, That ain't a mailbox. That's a medieval siege weapon. Chapter 7, Milton vs. the Sentinel for 10 glorious days. Milton did nothing. Just drove by slow, taking notes on his clipboard. Then, the Tuesday showtime arrived. I was out there pulling weeds, but really just waiting. Milton came crawling down the road in his F-150. Eyes squinting, truck veering, and then bam, the sound. Wasn't a crunch. It was a clang, like a cowbell being hit with a sledgehammer. His truck crumpled at the front, hood buckled, steam rising like a geyser, airbags deployed. The Sentinel didn't move. Not even a dent. I walked over, filming. You. Okay, Milton. He was dazed. That thing is a weapon. He gasped. No, sir, I said calmly. That is a 100% USPS-compliant mailbox. Same position as the 3 you ran over. Chapter 8. The law shows up. Deputy Monroe showed up 20 minutes later. He measured the post, reviewed the footage, looked at Milton's truck, then turned and said, Sir, this appears to be a single vehicle collision, and the object you struck is a legal mailbox. Milton was ticketed for reckless driving, in front of the whole neighborhood. Chapter 9. The HOA uprising. But I wasn't done. I sent a packet to the HOA board with photos of all 3 destroyed mailboxes. Wildlife cam footage. A letter from my cousin, an actual attorney, explaining what would happen if they tried to retaliate. Milton tried spinning the incident as sabotage, but the board had had enough. Turns out I wasn't the only one sick of his crusade. People came out with stories. He'd cited one family for hanging a child's drawing in their front window, another for parking slightly crooked. Within a month, Milton was stripped of community patrol duties. The HOA refused to pay his repair bill. He didn't even run for re-election. Word is he sold the truck and moved in with his daughter. 3 towns over. Chapter 10. The Legend of the Mailbox and the Sentinel. Still standing. Mail lady gives it a gentle pat every time she delivers. Kids in the neighborhood pose with it for graduation photos. Jack told me he saw someone drive 20 minutes just to see it. They say it's the most talked about mailbox on her entire route. But it was never about the mailbox. It was about standing up stubbornly, legally, and with an unreasonable amount of steel to a man who thought the rules didn't apply to him. It was about showing that sometimes you win by not backing down. So I want to hear from you. What's the dumbest, pettiest thing your HOA ever tried to pull? Did you fight back? Engineer a creative revenge? Drop your story in the comments. I read every single one. And if this tale of mailbox vengeance gave you even a hint of satisfaction, smash that like button like Milton hit that steel post, because some fights are worth showing up for with welding gloves on.